This is a typical fantasy football cheat sheet. This one's from ESPN. So if you're new to fantasy football, these cheat sheets are the kind of thing that's going to be passed out at your fantasy draft. And there's a way to read these that can really help you to do a better job picking the right players during your fantasy draft. And I just want to show you guys how to do this. So even if you're doing a snake draft, and a snake draft just means that you go whoever picks first, 1 through 12, and then the person picks 12 picks 1. So as you're going around the board, it looks like a snake as you put the stickers up on the board, or if you're doing it electronically online, it'll snake back and forth. A snake, that's what most people do. This is also set up for an auction draft, and auction drafts are different, but what you can do is use this as a tool to see how valuable a player actually is. So these experts have already done the work for you, okay? So now all you have to do is interpret the data. Here's the data. The most valuable player on this list is not a quarterback, okay? Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, Cam Newton, all these guys, they have been valued by the experts at $9 for Aaron Rodgers. Compare that to Le'Veon Bell, who is the most valued player on this cheat sheet at $57. That's many times more than a quarterback. What can you deduce from that? What you can deduce from that is that you probably should not be drafting a quarterback in the first round. Now, there are exceptions to every rule, but you can see that there are a limited number of really good running backs. There are a lot of quarterbacks, and there are a lot of quarterbacks that are in the same class, let's say that. Their value doesn't vary that much from each other that they're going to score much more points one to another. Now, will Rodgers have like many multiple touchdown games? Well, yeah, he has in the past. There's no doubt about that. But so will Russell Wilson. And for that matter, so will like the 12th player on the list, Matt Ryan. So say you're in a 12-person league, okay? This is something that you can do on your sheet too. You can go down to like the number 12. Between 12 and 13, draw a line. So it's very unlikely in the first 5 rounds that anyone in your league is going to draft more than one quarterback. There will always be that odd person that might do it. But even in that case, the worst quarterback that you could end up with is either Matt Ryan or maybe Phil Rivers, okay? Very serviceable fantasy football quarterbacks. Decent receivers, they're going to get you points. As many points consistently week in and week out as Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady? Maybe not, but the chance for these quarterbacks to score as many points as each other is very high. Now, let's look at running backs. The difference between Le'Veon Bell and Devontae Freeman, or here's a better example, Christian McCaffrey. Le'Veon Bell is going to score way more points than Christian McCaffrey, especially this year. Le'Veon Bell, his upside is so big this year because they pretty much know that the Steelers are not going to sign him next year. They are going to use every single ounce of gasoline that this guy has in his tank. If he was in a lot of plays last year, you can guarantee he's going to be on the field even that much more this year. And he was amazing last year for fantasy football. So look at the difference in the numbers here. So you've got the first couple. You've got Le'Veon Bell, Todd Gurley, David Johnson, Ezekiel Elliott. Okay, that's your elite class. You want one of these 4 guys. These 4 guys are going to go in almost every draft in the top 6 positions, okay? Almost everyone. Probably the top 5. I would say that like 90% of drafts, if anybody knows what they're doing, they're going to pick running backs. You can see how this works. The lowest priced one here is Ezekiel Elliott at $54, okay? That's how he's been valued. Look at wide receivers. There's only one wide receiver that's even close, and that's Antonio Brown, because he consistently gets 10 catches a game. It's ridiculous how many catches. His lowest reception number this year, he'll probably have one game where he has 8 receptions, and he'll probably have a ton of yards anyway, so it won't even matter. And then Julio Jones is in the 50s. But then, so use this to compare back and forth between categories when you're deciding in the first round, especially the first few rounds, whether or not to pick a running back or a wide receiver or a quarterback. Don't even pick a quarterback in the first 2 rounds. That's my advice to you. I'm just saying, don't waste it, because you're going to pass up so many opportunities to get a decent running back and a decent wide receiver. Now, the difference between running backs, see how quickly this drops off, okay? After you get to the first few, now you got Saquon Barkley, who has a big question mark with him right now because of his hamstring, but even more so, even if he was perfectly healthy, he's a rookie running back for one of the worst teams last year. So, I'm sorry, but I'm not drafting this guy in the first round. There's no way. I'll draft him in the second round maybe, but I'm definitely not taking him as my ace. I would definitely go further down the list, take Alvin Kamara. Without a doubt. Kamara was amazing in New Orleans last year. And I wouldn't even be surprised if, Leonard Fournette, well, I don't know about Fournette, but Saquon Barkley has not proven himself to me yet. The NFL is a fast league. We'll see if he translates. But, I'm not taking him in the first round. So, but here's what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, by the time you get down to the 12th running back, you're still over here. You're only at the 7th wide receiver, okay? A.J. Green, Michael Thomas. So I would say it's situational, but my recommendation is, in order to simplify it, if you're new to fantasy football, just pick a running back in the first round. Pick a running back in the first round. You can't go wrong with one of these guys. Even if everybody in your league picked, if you're picking 12th and everybody else picks, 11th, well, just pick Devontae Freeman and then pick Antonio Brown. That's kind of silly. I mean, that's not going to happen. There's going to be guys, especially in point per reception league, they're going to pick up one of these guys. Antonio, Julio, DeAndre Hopkins, even Beckham, maybe Allen. These guys will go in the first 10 or 12 picks, I would think. Maybe not that far down. Maybe these first 4. But I'm thinking, take a running back first, and then maybe one of the top flight wide receivers. And that's my advice for the first round. So we'll get into the second round in the next video.